Hey guys, Chef Ro here. Today we're going to make a curd. We are going to make it though in the style of sabayon. So minor differences, but it'll come out like a curd, and you could use it on a cake. You can use it in a tart, all kinds of stuff. Now I'm only making a half a recipe here. I'll post the ingredients at the very end of this video, but I'm doing only a half of that recipe today because I don't need very much for my purposes. I'm going to make it into a cake later. Okay.
So first things first, in the bowl, I have egg yolk, whole egg, and sugar. Okay. Now I've got this set over a pot of water. You can see there's just a small amount of water in here. And that is going to heat this egg nice and gently without scrambling it. And that is how you get the sabayon to cook.
Now I'm warning you right now, your arm is going to fall off, okay? So you're going to whisk and 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 think that your arm is going to just come off because of all the whisking. So some people do cheat, and I am all a fan of that, and use a hand mixer to keep it going. I have no problems with that, except the fact I just don't own a hand mixer. So if you have a hand mixer and you want to do that, that's great.
Now, once I've got the heat kind of going here, and you can see that it's starting to get more liquidy into the pan, I'm going to add about a third of my juice. Okay. Now, any citrus juice will work. I've used grapefruit, I've used lime, I've used lemon. Doesn't really matter what kind of juice you use, you just want it to be a citrus juice. You'd like the acid and the flavor of it. Okay. Now with grapefruit juice, I have found sometimes that you don't get quite that punch of grapefruit flavor, so what I've done is I've reduced the juice in half and then used that much. So for example, the full recipe of this calls for a half a cup of juice. So I would take 1 cup of juice, reduce it to a half a cup, and then use that in the recipe. It does get a little tricky because that'll thicken it, but it will give the more concentrated flavor. Okay, so I'm going to keep whisking, and I'm going to show you when this is ready to add the juice again. Okay, you can see that this has gotten much thicker. Okay, looks almost like a mousse. This is what you're looking for. Now we're going to add about half of the remaining juice. You're going to see it's going to thin down again. Okay, so then I'm going to hold on with my heating pad here so that I don't burn my hands. Okay. Metal bowl is going to be your best option because it's going to conduct heat the best. Glass bowl will work. It'll just take you 5 times as long. Okay, I'll come back and show you again when we're ready to add the next batch. Okay, you can see it's gotten really thick again. Looks almost like pudding again. So now I'm going to add my last little bit of juice in here. Again, it'll thin it down just a touch, and when it thickens back up this last time, that is when we're going to be ready. And if you notice, it's thickening back up each time more quickly than the first. Once you get past that first initial thickening, it does go pretty quickly. Now, if you whisk very quickly and are good about scraping the sides, you can keep this on about a medium heat. If you are not good about whisking quickly, or you're afraid your arm is going to fall off, then you need to keep the heat on pretty low so that it doesn't scramble on you.
Okay, I now have this to the correct thickness I want, and I need to pull it off the heat. Okay, now the reason we need to do that is because we need to get the butter melted in, but at a slow rate. Okay, so the butter, you want it to be as cold as possible, and you want to cut it into small cubes, and about a half a tablespoon per cube. Okay, and you're going to throw it in and whisk it until the first one's completely melted, and so on and so forth until the very end. Okay, so I'm just going to keep whisking these cubes of butter in, and I pulled them out of the refrigerator at the very last possible minute, right before I made this, started making the sabayon. That way it would stay as cold as possible. Okay, I've gotten all the butter worked in here now, and now I'm just going to add the tiniest pinch of salt, because salt actually brings out sweetness, believe it or not. Okay. So I'm going to add the tiniest pinch of salt in here. You can also add a little bit of zest of the citrus that you're using if you want. It's a textural issue for some people, but it will add an extra punch of flavor for you. So now I know you're sitting here looking at this saying, still looks awful liquidy. It's because it needs to fully cool. Once it gets completely cool, it will set right back up and you will be able to use it just like any curd.